Before the deck loads on screen, yeah, it's now ready. A quick word of intro about myself, where I come from. I've done e-commerce for most of my working life. Started in the early days of the internet, 90s. Did several businesses in France, across Europe, German businesses, fashion, electronics, and others. But what's been, and next I'm doing something new, which I'll talk about briefly. But what's been consistent in my journey into that e-commerce digital space was the convergence of content, marketing, and tech. I think these are the three pillars that have made innovation across the years. And what I do now is mainly digital change and e-commerce transformation. I'm joining soon a business called Reset, and Reset is a strategic transformation consultancy which will also deliver innovation products within companies. We have developed a proprietary transformation methodology which is uniquely powered by something called Springwise Innovation Intelligence, which was established 15 years ago as the leading social source of innovation intelligence. And Reset partners, there are 3 of us right now. We expect to be 10 by the end of the year. We specialize in critical areas of transformation and innovation, from strategy to ideation, and more importantly, program delivery. So that's what we do. Coming to innovation and disruption, I think it's really important to understand the difference between innovation and disruption. So I'm going to talk about disruption and how you disrupt yourself, but actually sometimes innovations can stand for disruptive moves. Disruption really is about transforming your business so that your old business doesn't exist. And most of the time, innovation is about improving things, and we've seen that earlier today. Who are the usual suspects around disruption? When you talk about disruption, you see all the, that space around music, the film industry, retail, technology. Oh, I forgot one, by the way, sorry. But disruptors are really making the old redundant. And who are the usual casualties, you may ask? Well, you've heard about these brands that are no longer either there at all or no longer thriving. And I've been fortunate, or unfortunate, but I'd say fortunate to be with Sony Music for 6 years in the golden age of CD and music, and where it was about transforming the business to selling more CDs. And they didn't see it coming. They didn't see Napster coming. They didn't see all of that happen because they thought of themselves, we are there to produce CDs. And they didn't think about producing artists or even producing music for the customer. That it's again, I think there's a lot of around the mindset and how you look at your business, which will make a massive difference depending whether you're able to innovate or grow in new markets. And so, who's next? And when a couple of years ago I was asked to join Time Inc. in the UK, I thought, the publishing industry is not in a good space. Advertising revenues are down, subscription revenues are down, retail revenues like newsstand are down as well. Everything has been down for the last 8 years. So if they do nothing now, in 15 years or so, there's no publishing industry, there's no magazine industry. Even though they moved to digital and had done a good job around digitizing everything, but it's very hard to monetize. So the disruptor in that case are people who take the advertising revenues from the publishers. Google is one of them. So what about the journey? So when 4 years ago Marcus Rich joined Time Inc. UK, thought, we need to lower our costs. We need to grow as well. The first move was to search for efficiencies. And if you're not agile enough, if you're not fast enough, if you're not cost efficient enough, you're not going to be able to grow. You have to go on a diet before you start, doing sports, basically. And that's basically the thing. So for a couple of years, we've done massive restructure. I was in charge of the marketing restructure, moving from 100 people to roughly 60, and then externalizing the whole of the marketing, customer marketing, which means now magazines are just focusing on content, and what they do best, storytelling. And I'm coming to that, actually, because if you look at the business from a neutral perspective, in the UK, Time Inc. is still a leading consumer multi-platform publisher, but actually, and they reach half of the UK population every month. So there's lots of good numbers and good reasons to strive, but it's a declining market. And you need to do something about even the way you look at your business. You will recognize a few brands here, maybe. I'm sure Marie Claire, for instance, is one that is very familiar. It's a license, and it's a joint venture with Marie Claire France. But other brands like, Golf Monthly, TV Times, these are, have been there for a long time. Horse and Hound is very famous because of a movie, and a few others. But basically, what the business is about, it's about passion points. You look at these brands and think, yeah, we are talking about people's passion points. And when you look at yourself and say, well, yes, that's what we're dealing with, really. We're not dealing with magazines or print or even digital. It's passion points. And then the next thing is, what do we really do? And what we do is storytelling. And again, if you think about your business as a publisher or as any content publisher in a different way, and you think, well, yes, storytelling is really what at the core of the business, then that opens new perspectives, because you obviously need to distribute your stories, you want to monetize these stories, you want also, and that's the next level, to enhance the experience. And that's the initial thought around how do we grow, where do we grow, how can we grow? We realize, obviously, that customers go through multiple touch points when they, consume their passion points. And we acknowledge that we're pretty good at the early stage of the journey, like igniting the passion point, informing people, giving content and value-adding content. But we're pretty poor at the last end, the end of the journey, which is all about transactions and loyalty and recurring revenues. So that's, the starting point. The second one is, being able to ask the right questions. And when you want to grow based on a new vision of your business, you're going to ask yourself a couple of key questions. The first one being, what do customers do and want? And I guess everyone here is asking the same questions. You've heard before about retailers who want to improve. It's all about the customer listening to what they do, to what they tell you, but also, understanding what they do and what they want. The second one is, again, looking at yourself, thinking, where are we strong? Like Sean was saying just before, they want to be strong where Amazon is not so strong. So people is the thing. But you want to be strong and credible. So that's the second condition. And the third question is, what is the size of the prize? Is it worth doing it? Is it worth investing, taking risks? So asking these three questions. And then we went through another exercise, which was about looking at these ecosystems we're in. And you've seen all the brands, you've seen all the passion points we address. And we looked at the ecosystems, and we've realized, actually, that people do a lot of things. If you're a cyclist in the UK, you're going to spend, on average, £4,000 a year on your passion. £4,000, just for your passion point. Same applies to equestrian. If you have a horse, obviously that's very expensive. But let's just take cycling. So this market in the UK is a 3.8 billion sterling market in the UK alone. And magazines and content publishers all gathered capture 4% of that. So the opportunity is massive. And when you think about it, yeah, there's other things we can do than just print magazines. That's good, but it doesn't deliver. What's really valuable in the value chain is transactions, and going in the route of what are the transactional models that these same customers would go through. And you look at the data and the insights, and you realize actually that having an audience is good, it's great, and actually data is essential, and Time Inc. has got 14 million customers in the database with a single view of the customer. But what's more important even is how do you use the data and leverage it to get to other markets. So a couple of examples of what we've been through. We've acquired a business called UKCE, which is a cycling events business, here on the left. And then on another passion point, which is craft, and all things to do with knitting and crochet and everything, we've acquired a business called ICHF, which again is an events business. So events, magazines, that goes well together. You can push people to events in the magazine. When they come to the event, you can sell magazines. It's a virtuous circle. So you get something like 1 + 1 = 3. Another one, which is interesting, in the equestrian world, we created from scratch this platform, which is a matchmaking platform between riders of horses and organizers of events. If you know Eventbrite, well, this is the Eventbrite for your horse. And again, it was a very fragmented market. We thought there's something to do here, and it's powered by Horse or Hound, which is a credible brand that has a weekly magazine that's going to advertise the events. So again, a really value-adding proposition here. Another one based on Marie Claire. So this is interesting. So again, that's beauty and fashion, but here it's a beauty box that's been started last year, and it's really doing well. And the idea was, well, we have very good relationships with advertisers, luxury, premium, beauty brands. They advertise with us in InStyle, Marie Claire, and the others. And we thought, let's go for that. We talked to them, and they were happy to provide samples, and we started this beauty box based on the idea that you're going to have great content in the box, like curated by the editors of Marie Claire, but also you're going to have the best products and with a very good deal in the middle. So that's doing really well, and it's been promoted in all the magazines that you see below. Same topic, even more disruptive, going into retail. So that, again, on the back of Marie Claire, a new brand was created in partnership with Ocado, which is the leading grocery online store in the UK, called Fabled. And Fabled is a sort of premium Sephora. If you're familiar with Sephora, I'm sure you are, Fabled has the ambition to be the luxury Sephora with a different experience. There's one store in London already. Obviously, there's the online shop. And the idea is you go into a store like you walk into a magazine. You have editors, you have people talking about the products, you can have a conversation with an expert and everything. So that's a new kind of experience that's been experimented in London as well. I'm running late, so I'm going to be short, and that's the last example I'm going to showcase, which is the Knitting Network. Again, something very different, based on Women's Weekly. Women's Weekly happens to be the 5th best-selling magazine in the UK. A lot of audience, and they used to be selling knitting patterns, so explaining how to do this and that. And on the back of the knitting patterns, we thought, why not sell the whole thing? And we went to a supplier in Kent, who's a marketplace player, like a family business that started, selling yarn, needles, and stuff, sourcing them and selling them on Amazon. We talked to them and said, well, do you want to be a partner of ours? And they became our e-commerce partner, whereby we have now not only the patterns, but also the yarn and needle that goes with it into something that hopes to be the community for knitters and crochet fans. So that's it for me. And the question really now is about yourself and your business is thinking, are you ready to innovate, to disrupt yourself? Thank you very much.